So if you're trying to start a family, that 2 week wait can feel like an eternity, right? You're on high alert, noticing every tiny little thing your body does. But what if I told you that the very first clues of pregnancy can show up before you even miss your period? Okay, let's get into it and uncover those super early hidden signs that a pregnancy might just be starting. It really is an amazing question, isn't it? The thought that your body has this secret communication system that just flips on almost immediately. We're going to break down exactly how your body sends out these first little signals, and more importantly, what you might actually notice.
So, where does it all begin? Well, it all comes down to hormones. They're basically these super powerful messengers that are behind pretty much every single change you feel in early pregnancy. But before they can really get to work, a couple of really important things have to happen first.
Okay, so here's the super simplified version of a pretty incredible journey. First up, you've got fertilization. The sperm and egg meet. Simple enough. Then, that new embryo takes a trip down to the uterus and snuggles into the uterine wall. That's called implantation. And that moment, right there, is the trigger. As soon as implantation happens, it's like a switch is flipped, and your body's hormone factory goes into overdrive.
And meet the three main characters in this story, the messengers that start broadcasting the news throughout your whole body. You've got estrogen and progesterone. You've probably heard of them, but there's a new player in town, beta HCG. Now, that is the specific hormone that all those pregnancy tests are looking for. The three of them work together like a team to get all the changes started that we're about to talk about. All right, so the hormones are officially on the clock. What are some of the first physical changes you might actually be able to see or feel? Well, one of the most common signs is also one of the least talked about, and it might not be what you're expecting at all.
I know, this one might be a little surprising. One of the very first things many women notice is just this persistent feeling of wetness. And it's not random, I promise. It's a direct result of those estrogen and progesterone levels going up, which tells your glands to get to work and increase secretions. And, this can start as early as a week before you even expect your period.
There's actually a medical name for this. It's called leukorrhea. And all it means is an increase in vaginal discharge, which might look transparent or kind of milky white. The thing is, this is totally normal, and it's actually a good protective sign in early pregnancy. So what's its job? Now, this is really important to pay attention to, knowing the difference between a normal sign and something you should get checked out. Normal pregnancy leukorrhea should be pretty much odorless, and it definitely shouldn't cause any itching or irritation. Its whole purpose is to create a protective barrier to keep the birth canal safe from infections. But if you ever notice a bad smell or you're feeling itchy or irritated down there, that's your body's signal to call a doctor because it could be an infection. And it doesn't stop there. Beyond the discharge, you might notice a few other subtle things. Some women report a slight tingling or even a mild pain sensation, which is probably just due to all the hormonal shifts making everything more sensitive. And here's a really fascinating one. The skin in the area can actually darken, sometimes looking purplish or a deep maroon color. And that's all because of a huge increase in blood flow as your body starts preparing for what's to come. Of course, none of these localized changes are happening in a vacuum. They're just one part of a much bigger symphony of signals that your body is sending out. They all come together to paint the bigger picture of early pregnancy symptoms.
So you might be thinking, okay, a feeling of wetness, tingling, those are pretty subtle. How do they fit in with the more classic symptoms we always hear about? Well, they often show up right alongside a whole bunch of other changes that when you look at them all together, start to make a lot more sense.
And yep, here they are, the ones you're probably more familiar with. You might have that breast tenderness or feeling of fullness, or maybe you notice your areolas are getting darker. And then, of course, there's the classic nausea, the emotional roller coaster of mood swings, and that sudden urge to run to the bathroom all the time. Oh, and we can't forget the fatigue. I mean, that deep, can't keep your eyes open kind of tiredness. And sometimes headaches, too. Seeing a few of these pop up together can be a pretty strong hint. But, and this is a really big but, all of these things we've talked about, they're still just signs. They're clues. They are not a confirmation. So, how do you go from just suspecting you're pregnant to knowing for sure? Well, that's the final and most important piece of this puzzle.
So here's the bottom line. No matter how many of these signs you're ticking off a list, the only way to get a definite answer is after you've actually missed your period and you take a pregnancy test. These early symptoms are fantastic clues, but the test is the real decider. Now, why is it so important to wait? It all comes down to avoiding something called a false negative. That's when you are actually pregnant, but the test comes back negative. It usually happens because you've tested just a little too early before the levels of that beta HCG hormone are high enough for a home test to pick them up.
This is why a little patience can really pay off. See, on the exact day you miss your period, your HCG levels might still be too low for a test to catch. But if you can wait just 4 or 5 more days, your chances of getting an accurate result go way up. And the ideal time? The gold standard for a home test is a full week after your mess period. By then, the HCG levels are usually high enough that you can really trust the results. So, from those first hormonal triggers, all the way to that whole constellation of symptoms, your body's early warning system is incredibly complex, and it gets to work way sooner than you might think. It really makes you wonder, Looking back on all these little indicators, which one of these subtle, hidden signs did you find the most surprising?